We are back. Welcome back to the What's Next podcast. Beautiful day here, right here in Monterey, California, right here on the beach. Today, we've got Miss Juanita Olmostalamo.
Yes.
And I've only met you once, so I'm going to have to get to know you on air.
Yeah.
Now, we talked a little bit about meditation. I think we did some meditation events, or I forget exactly what we were talking about. I haven't seen you in about a few weeks now.
A few weeks. We talked about healing. We talked about how different people, how you come across people. And what I do is I look to see what type of person I have in front of me.
Okay.
Who they are, what they need, how to approach whatever they may be looking to heal, looking to address.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you do for a living? Where start us out? Give us some background on you.
Yeah. Well, right now I'm taking a leave. I'm at home.
Okay.
I'm taking care of a family member.
Okay, sure.
Time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What I've done before and what I was doing before is mostly physical therapy, actually.
I see.
Therapy.
Okay.
And that is how I found out that this healing concept for me was a natural, was something that I could do.
Okay.
I started out at 17 working for a, this was workman's comp, personal injury type situation where my father got me this job. He said, go to college or get a job.
Sure.
And I am dyslexic, so I was very worried about going to school, going to college, even though I like learning. So he set me up with this a doctor and this administrator that he knew and an attorney that he knew, and they had this workman comp kind of personal injury situation.
I see.
And I went in at 17 and they said, take care of her because she's young, look after her, what can she do, clerical, what have you. And the administrator said, you want to try some physical therapy, we'll train you, you'll be an aide. I started doing that. I found that when I started palpitating, touching people, information came to me. Feelings, understanding, thoughts. I knew what was going on with the person, whether it was physical or it was emotional. Yeah.
That's probably why we hit it off so well. We're both hands-on people. I'm a massage therapist, and of course it lends itself quite a bit to medical and all that type of thing. So I could feel it. You're almost an empath.
I am an empath, actually.
You are an empath.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that what?
Yeah. That's part of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I've had a few people that have told me they were empaths, and it's amazing what they tell me about my life. It's like, wow, how did you know that? That's pretty interesting. So that's how you started working with people and putting your hands on them. And how did you know that it's real? Maybe it's something that I'm just imagining. Or
what ended up happening was people were healing very rapidly.
I see.
It wasn't a matter of we do so many sessions or we're working on doing this modality or that modality. It was simply when I touched them and when I did some of the massage work that I did, or even if I did ultrasound or something, it was still coming through. It was my intent and my concern for the person.
Right.
My compassion, my understanding of them. So people started healing very, very quickly. Things started healing from people that came in, patients that came in that really kind of wasn't supposed to heal quite that way. And also there was feedback that people were feeling different. They were feeling uplifted or
much more
burdens.
than just physical, huh?
Yeah.
Well, that's great.
Yeah. And then when I was a child, I had a very close relationship with my grandmother, and she's what would be considered in the kind of Spanish culture a curandera. And so there was, believe it or not, we used to have kind of telepathic conversations.
Really?
And I
That's
thought
cool.
This was natural. To me, it was very natural.
Right.
And when I was growing up, I would see her do many things. Some of them was the same type of on-hands healing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And she would work with herbs or prayers, different things that she did. And so I think that that came through.
So she was a praying woman.
Yeah, she was.
So
Yeah,
she was religious at the same time as being an empath.
Yes.
That's possible.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. Yeah. And at the same time, she wasn't tied down to her religion at the time or for her culture.
I see.
She had an understanding, an open mind of these sources coming from more than one place. You know, she
What
had
do you
an
mean? Break that down.
Well, for example, it wasn't just these saints or God or who they called Blessed Mother Guadalupe.
I see, sure.
They'd had these sources or this giving to one, but she understood that it came from plant, from mineral, that it came from other people that had, for example, where she grew up and where she was from, there was a community that was Japanese, there was a community that was Chinese, Jewish, Irish, German, and for various reasons, because of the history in Mexico. And she interacted with these people. What she did for a living was she had a store. A produce store in front of her home.
Okay, sure. That's common.
So she had, it was very common at
in
that
Asian
time.
customs, I've seen that a lot, where they live in the house and they have the store up front. Yeah.
Precisely. And so people would come from around the neighborhoods in the neighborhood to purchase. So she'd have interaction with people.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so in her interactions is where the healings would happen.
Just handing them an orange and like, oh my God.
Yeah, different things, just conversations and what their culture was, what their beliefs were, what their source of connection to source, to creator, to the healing source.
Yeah. She was comfortable with that. It would be almost scary to start getting everybody else's energy, but she knew exactly what she was dealing with.
She really did. She really did.
Very confident woman must have been.
She was natural. It wasn't... well, of course there's comfortability, but she was just very natural, down to earth, natural.
Right.
She was a being. She was there. She was connected to humanity.
Sure.
She was connected to her humanity. And so I believe that is something that was not only nurtured within me, but I think part of me. I think it's, we came from the same source, if you will.
Right.
Yeah. So...
That's neat. Did you know her very well? Did you train with her?
There was no training.
Was there no?
No, there was no training, but there was an understanding that she saw in me versus my sisters or my aunts or my mother or others that is the same. If
She could recognize it in you and maybe give you a little bit of explanation on what's...
Never an explanation, always a connection.
Okay.
It was, again, a lot of even though we spoke like you and I are speaking, there was a lot of conversation that was going without speech.
I see.
There was a lot of communication, understanding, feeling, perceptions, me just watching her do something and understand that, It was instinctual, it was intuitive, it was just a knowing.
Just the two of you together, reading each other's brain. Wow.
Yeah. Or even the things that she did, I had an understanding of what she was doing.
Yeah. She was good with strangers, like
everybody.
You said. The people walked up to her store, and she would...
And sometimes there was a confirmation where I would see her interact with someone and I was picking up or reading what was going on with that person, and she was too. So I understood why she would behave or do the things that she did.
So tell me what you mean by a confirmation. You have a feeling, and what do you mean by that?
I have an intuition, or I hear information, and I just know what's going on in front of me.
Right.
What this person's intentions are.
Do you get a confirmation?
Do I get a confirmation?
Or is the confirmation what you're saying is just what you're getting from...
The confirmation that I was referring to earlier has to do with me knowing why my grandmother was doing what she was doing.
Okay.
Because I was perceiving the same thing at the same time as she was. As I was watching her, the confirmation came in understanding why she was doing what she was doing. For me, my process, or the way I see it, the way it happens, is I'm looking at a person and I'm getting perceptions, or I get a thought or an insight. And most of the time, my mind is clear. It's just, I don't have any thoughts going on. I'm not looking or pre-thinking.
Right.
I'm just kind of open,
I see.
and things come. I hear information,
Okay.
or I feel information.
It's almost a psychic ability.
I do. I have some.
Do
yeah,
you?
I do. Yeah.
Like if you, what is it called?
My senses, all of my senses, my everyday senses are enhanced, if you will.
Like ESP, I guess.
Yeah.
Extrasensory perception.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So I don't know much about that. That's basically, it's just, I mean, you get a lot of thoughts that come to your head, but how do you know whether it's from somewhere else or whether it's just your brain? You know what I mean? I mean, ESP, it's like, it's more of a thing where after it happens, it's like, wow, I kind of knew that was going to happen. But at the time before it happened, how would I know that it was something that's going to happen, or if it's something that my brain's going, oh, what if this happened?
Because most of the time, like I said, I'm just clear. There is nothing going on, if you will.
Right.
An airhead, if you will. And then I get information.
Okay.
It just comes.
Yeah.
And there's different sources. I do have a relationship with what would be understood to be a guardian angel.
Okay.
And I hear that.
Okay.
Those conversations, I hear that. I've had...
Do they guide you through life, or are they just kind of...
there's information that I need to know at
that
times.
point?
At
So
that point,
basically,
yeah.
Oh.
There's... and this was going on in my childhood. So this was the beginning. My grandmother and I had these conversations, this knowing, these interactions. And then I'm growing up and going throughout life and hearing people that are no longer here present in their body. They're not incarnated anymore, but they're talking to me. Or I'm seeing, all of my senses are very aware. So I see, I hear, I feel, okay? Sometimes I can taste and smell things. For example, I have conversations at times and hearing of people that have passed, or they come to me about 2 weeks before they pass, and they let me know. Sometimes they let me know a message for someone, and then I have to discern and decide, do I give that information to the person? Then I have to look at that person that they're giving a message to see if they're ready to receive that. Is this going to be beneficial for them? Do they want to, even if it may be beneficial for them? Right. So it becomes a process of discernment. And that discernment goes back to asking Source, is this something that I should do?
Right.
What is the next step? And then it depends if the response comes from, like I said, my angel, if it comes just from a knowing.
Sure.
Okay. Source for me is just a knowing. I know you asked, how do I know that? I just do.
You do.
I came into the world that way. Again, since I was a child, these things have been happening. I didn't question them. I'm not a great intellectual. I just am. I'm just here.
Right.
It's a being. It's just a being.
Yeah.
You know.
I've had that happen to me many times, where I've had a feeling of something crazy off the wall, and it happened, but I don't think before it happened I would be able to say this is going to happen. You know, it's like, oh my God, I wonder, why I had that weird thought. I was driving down Highway 1 one day a few years back, and I just turned to my lady and it said, I think my brother just tried to kill himself. I mean, how far off is that, And it turned out to be a good friend of his.
Yeah.
At the same time, exact time, it was like, was that 100% coincidence on the other side of the country? I never would have been able to say, oh, I just had this vision.
It's my belief that this is something that we all can have connection to, because it's connection.
Right.
It's something that when you are connected, you're open, you're in that state of being totally human, that you can have these connections, that you can have these understandings.
Right.
I don't think they're coincidental. I think that they come. I think that if there is an opening and there would be a reception to that, then
You just know.
then you know. Yeah.
And you just know how to receive it better.
And I don't know how.
You don't question
I
what
haven't.
it is like
I never
would.
have. I don't do studies or meditations or work with someone. I don't do readings. I don't do tarot cards. It's
Okay.
just information that
I see.
comes. I can, however, touch an object that someone has.
Mm-hmm.
I can, if we're on the phone and someone is asking me, I can read that information.
No kidding.
I can see a picture and read that information.
Mm-hmm.
So again, it's really coming through my senses.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't seek it.
Mm.
I don't go out to ask. It's
Right.
when it comes.
I see, right.
I have, if someone will say to me, I need to understand this, then I will place myself in a place of asking, or if I'm doing a healing and I'm asking for protection, I'm asking for that healing, but I'm not the source.
Right.
You know, it's
Right.
really coming from somewhere else.
Right, right.
Yeah.
You're religious or spiritual?
You know, I think that there's been so much an intellectual wanting to understand just simply from thinking from the mind of what is spirituality and what is religion. Spirituality can happen within religion,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that religions have a purpose, and I think that they have a benefit, and I think that you can go beyond that. And again, source isn't just from one aspect or one part of the world or one people. It isn't. You know,
I guess that's what I was getting to. You're
Yeah.
taking it from different sources. Is one of them God
Yes.
and the devil?
For me personally, I do. You know, so we've talked in 12 steps. The higher power, to me, that has always been God.
Right.
I know
right.
for Jewish religion, G-D, because they dare not say the name of God.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it's that sacred.
Wow.
So, and the reason I'm bringing that up is the understanding of the so sacred, the so magnificent, the so huge of that source. For indigenous people, they call him creator, you know.
Right.
Different religions will talk about the masculine and the feminine. So not male and female, but feminine and masculine, which is an energy or the source. So am I religious? I appreciate religions and I appreciate the rituals. I appreciate the ceremonies within them.
The rituals
they have
and
purpose,
ceremonies. Right.
and
yeah.
and they have depth. They have richness. There's connection. There's beauty there. So that's the best way I can answer it.
Right.
I am not this or that. I'm just present, and I'm open to source giving me what I need for the purpose of healing or helping, that type of thing.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it's a great field to be in, you know, working with, you know.
it's not a job for me.
Right.
I don't go out and advertise. I don't solicit or market.
Sure.
I just kind of am. I used to just go about my day, and when I was out and about, and I would just kind of send out healing energy to people.
Sure.
And sometimes it's draining. And I had my acupuncturist tell me, you know, you don't have to heal everybody. and actually, a little bit of work that I did with someone in learning in their teachings, Dr. Clarissa Estes. I don't know if you know who that
Doesn't
is.
ring a bell,
Dr.
no.
Clarissa Picola Estes, Women Who Run with the Wolves, the work that she does with women.
That sounds familiar, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She does intensives and trainings and teachings. And she's just always been someone for me that I felt was authentic and was a fellow healer, if you will. And as she is, she's also a mystic.
You're doing physical therapy. Do you ever put your hands on somebody and you're overloaded? It's
No.
too much as
No.
far as the energy that they're putting off?
No.
No. Okay.
No. No. Well, the problem that has happened is depending on what's going on with them, I may have trouble transmuting it, getting it out of my
Okay.
system.
Right.
You know, sometimes the life force that is used is a lot, or sometimes empathically, yeah, I take on a bit too much, and then I have to work that out. I do have to
Right,
cleanse that
right.
out. Yeah.
I know I've come across that probably half a dozen times in my career where I've literally had to let go of somebody because my heart's going so fast, and I've tapped into something, and I don't know what it is, but it's running straight through me, you know, and I literally have to disconnect, you know, and I have no idea what that is. You know, whether it's their stress level, their PTSD, their something from their childhood, or
Right,
but
right,
it's
right,
something's just running
Yeah.
right through me. As soon as I let go, it stops.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't know. I'm not saying that I'm kind of empath or anything like that, but sometimes I know some people can carry such energy.
Right.
That's why I ask you, do you
Right,
ever
right,
get
right.
overloaded? Like, oh, too much?
Not when I'm laying on hands. And again, you know, we all have the ability to have empathy, empathic, to open up to that space to varying degrees. I've not had that, but what I've had is, again, where it was just it was just too much, and I did have to cleanse. Where I get that overload is in different places that I may go when there's too much energy from too many people.
Right.
I do monitor how much I go into certain places or crowds, depending on what is going on. I have gone into places, locations, homes, buildings, or different things that I just need to leave.
Yes, I've done
So
there too.
that
Yeah,
is
definitely,
something that
definitely.
is more of an effect. Perhaps when I'm laying on hands, it's more where, again, it's not me, you know?
But it could be anything walking into that situation. It could be
Yeah.
the guy that built it. It could be the guy that lived there. It could be Indian burial ground. I
Exactly.
don't know. I got to get out of here.
Yeah,
It's too
for-
much. I have no idea what's driving
When I
me.
go to locations or areas, yes. When it's
You get that too. That's crazy.
Yeah, I do. When it's the person, it's not quite the same way.
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I usually come across that usually in the neck, shoulders, back of the head, running down the spine. That's when I get overloaded. But that's right where everything is carried. You know, so you're up here, and you get that to drop. Well, all of those emotions that are holding it up are
Yeah.
bottled up too.
Right.
It's not just the muscle letting
Right,
go. Everything
right.
else. It's the
Right,
reason why
right.
you're up here all the
Yeah.
time. You get that muscle to let go. And
Yeah.
people start crying
yeah,
on
exactly.
the table over and over again.
Yeah,
I see that all
exactly,
the time.
exactly.
They're just going through something and they don't even know it.
Right.
They
You know-
think that it's almost like bring your shoulders down and it stops like it's hitting concrete. And then I work on them and boom, drops another 2 inches. It's like,
Yeah.
how did you do that? It's like, I didn't think it would go any further.
Yeah.
It's your mind
Yeah.
holding that position, whether it's fear of being hurt
Yeah.
or
Yeah. Absolutely.
physically or mentally.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just not,
Yeah.
you know.
It's interesting, now that you're saying that, because I just made a connection. My husband, when he does work at me at home sometimes to relieve, he'll pick it up.
Right.
So if I
right.
worked on someone, when he's working on me to help me release that, he'll pick it up.
Yeah.
He'll pick it up, and he'll say, "Gosh, I feel really sick," you know.
Isn't that crazy?
And I'll say, "Oh, well, you know, actually, I was working with someone that had." So, you
Right.
know, and he's told me before, I don't know why that happens. It only happens with you. When I do a massage on you know, our son or what have you, that
That's
doesn't
different
happen.
than you absorbing.
Well,
You're actually putting it out.
I think I am absorbing it though, and
Well, you
it's
are,
sticking.
but I mean, something
it's
going to
sticking
him.
in there. Well, I think it's so what he's told me is I have a great deal of love and compassion, and I want you to feel better. So I think he kind of opens up and, you know, and removes it that way.
And
Yeah.
holding it. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Let it go.
Yeah.
Right.
And another thought that I had is when I was a young woman in my teenage years, I had the opportunity to sit on the floor in Santa Monica in Louise Hayes.
Hmm.
No, okay. She did she did all the work of healing yourself. It reminded me of you talking about body parts in different areas where we carry things.
Right.
You know, like your digestion.
Exactly, right.
Your
Studied all
neck,
of
as
it.
you were saying,
Right.
you know, all of that, different areas where we carry different things, different emotions,
Right.
or and then they manifest in a physical way.
Is it tied through your chakras? Is
Yeah.
it tied through, is it?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it can be, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it sounds
yeah,
like it.
yeah. And so the reason I was mentioning her is because that was the work that she came up with and she did, that she brought forth, which was metaphysics, understanding where illnesses would come from, and again, coming from the emotions and the spirit, and the melodies coming from that area and manifesting physically, or being released in certain areas when you touch them or work them.
Right.
Like when you do the Rolfing, you know, or when you do some energy work, or you do Reiki work.
Right.
Yeah. I was attuned for Reiki 1 and 2. I don't
Okay.
do remote, but it does come natural.
Yeah.
I wasn't attuned for it, but it comes natural to do that energy healing. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Were we talking about making drums? Did you do a
Oh, interesting that you bring that up.
workshop?
See, you're being intuitive.
I remember you saying that, but I
I
don't know if it
didn't.
was from
Actually,
you.
I didn't tell you that. No.
No?
So maybe it's from someone else, or maybe it's
Okay.
intuitive. I did. I do know other healers. I do know shamans. I do. There's a particular man that lives in New Mexico, and he is a shaman. He had asked if I would bring that forth into communities out here to see if people were called to make sacred drums.
Really?
These are called, it is a drum that he has, it's a double-sided drum that he was going to bring forth as a gift into this community, and it's for discernment, it's for healing of oneself. It's a drum not for others, but for self.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. So
And it's spiritual.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Is it almost like a singing bowl? Is it that type of a? Is he trying to capture?
There is
some
a
type
resonance to it. There is a
re-
resonance to
yeah.
it. What happens is the material is consecrated. You know, the material. I believe he was using buckskin.
Oh, the
and-
material itself.
In itself.
Ah.
And then you go through the way it was going to be done. This workshop that we did a few months ago is he was going to travel down, bring the material. People, again, that are called to would come. I was hosting it at my home. There's teachings on sacred drumming, on how to, on what it means, on the connection. Again, the consecration of the material and the person as well. Again, ceremony. A ceremony for these things to come together so that you come together and have a relationship with that item that now is being asked to be filled by spirit. Okay?
Oh, I see.
The spirit of either the deer, or if you're working with a spirit animal, for example,
That
wolf,
was my next
or,
question. That's funny you brought that
owl
up.
or what have you, then that would come forth and infuse the drum so that you had that working connection. And I do have spirit animals. They have come to me. Again, I don't go out and seek. It's being open to having a relationship with life, with having relationship and honor, respect, reverence for land, for plant, for animal, for human, for elements. So one of my huge connections and respect that I have is wolf.
I see.
So yeah. So when I was doing the drum, that's who came and is within the spirit of the wolf within that drum to do the work.
But you have multiple spirit animals. Almost like a totem pole? Or is that
The totems are a little bit different, but I do have two. I have two other spirit animals that have come to me. I, you know, for me, I know that the other two spirit animals are, I don't speak of them much. They come from a place and a realm that isn't here.
Okay.
So they're a little more sacred.
So
They're
they're
a little
not in the
more,
same place as the wolf.
no.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So. Okay.
So, and those come with a little more intense places, if you will, journeying, if you will, healing, if you will.
So if they were
So
on
I
a totem
don't-
pole, would the heads like move
No,
at different times? One would be more
No.
important than the other, or the wolf
No.
is always the top?
no, no. They're all equal. They just have different purpose.
I see.
Yeah. So,
That's interesting.
yeah.
That's
So
really
some
cool.
things I don't readily speak of.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And depending on a circumstance or a situation, depending on the person, I can speak of it, but it would be for a reason, for a purpose. There would have to be something. And some things cannot be spoken of in a general sense.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, we had Anthony Mondragon in from the Mutsun tribe, who's been on this dirt for 10,000 years plus, and he talks a whole lot about the same kind of stuff. You know, there are very interesting similarities.
For example, and I was going to share this with you, I was given a consecration name, and this was done through, again, some work with Dr. Estes,
Okay.
because she does also do tribal work as well. You know, from walking that journey, that path, and it is a name that is just between I and Creator. And I know the Dene, another word, Navajo, same thing. They have a name the Creator gives to them, and it's only between them. No
Okay,
one else.
right. Yeah.
And there's reason and purpose for that as well.
I've asked him about God too, and he's like, well, the Creator, just as you're saying. You know,
Yeah,
so it is
yeah.
the same page.
Yeah, it
Right.
is.
That's really neat.
Yeah. And so again, I don't go out and search or study, but it comes to me, and then I have an understanding from interacting with other people,
Sure.
what is the same, and that we're talking about the same thing, you know,
Yeah.
or that we're kind of throwing sand at each other and saying, what does that feel like to you? Oh, the same? Oh, good.
Yeah,
Okay.
right.
So we know that source. Yeah.
Yeah. Are you going to go back to physical therapy after? Oh, you're on the medical
What
thing
I
right
started
now?
doing, actually, what I did for a while is I had my own practice, and I did kind of massage therapy / healing, and I put that down, and I devoted a lot more time to being a mom.
I see.
And
Okay.
so that was just kind of on the side. The healing aspect kept growing, and that just came out of listening to when someone asked for help.
Right.
I was told before by people that I respect, you know, you can choose who you heal, and also don't run around trying to look for people to heal. Wait till they come to you and ask you.
That comes
Not
with
because
time.
you advertise, not because
Right.
of any other reason, but because they have a connection and they're working with their souls or spirits, and they know that they're seeking for someone, and then they come to you, and it will just be. And it does happen that way.
Right.
People will come and say, you know, I'm feeling this way. I find that people have a very easy time speaking to me and opening up
Right.
and saying things and saying later, God, I can't believe I told you that. And
Right.
and then they'll say, by the way, or I'm feeling this, or what do you think of this, or would you be able to help me? And perhaps not even knowing why they're asking me, and then we go from there.
But they were drawn to you.
Yes.
Right. Right.
Or we come across each other's path in some way,
Yeah.
and for purpose.
You know, one of my best friends lives. He's up in Colorado now, but he grew up in Salinas, and he was in the Air Force for years and years, and you know, he had a lot of PTSD and a lot of different things, and he had gone up into Michigan, and he had gone out into the woods just by himself with nothing in the middle of the winter, and just spent a month out there just to kind of get himself healed. And then he came back to Salinas. He said, I was just walking down Main Street, and I don't know why, but I felt the need to go up this stairway. And he said it was the most uninviting stairway I've ever seen, and I don't even know why I went up there. But I was up there working on massage, and we became lifelong friends, best of friends. And he's like, I don't know what made me do that. But he was on a journey of trying to heal.
Right.
And he just got drawn right up my stairway. It was like, okay, it could be a coincidence. But it just seems to me, see, I'm not ready to make that commitment and say, oh, it was me, like, and say I'm intuitive like you are.
But we all are.
But there is something there.
But we all are.
You think so?
I know so.
Sure.
Yeah, we all are. Yeah.
That's cool.
We are. We're all to some degree empathic. We're all to some degree intuitive. And it really becomes a matter of how open we are. Or also, we have so many callings in life. We don't just have one. We have so many other purposes, directions, things that we again, remember, our sacred mind, our sacred soul, our sacred heart, our sacred spirit, our sacred inner child. So these are all within us, all one.
Yeah.
But they all have purpose and direction and needs, right? So people are following maybe this calling or this path or this interest or this decision. You see what I mean? So it doesn't necessarily mean only these people are intuitive or only these people are open to having these serendipitous experiences. We all have the ability. We all have that within us. It just depends on where we're focusing or what we're needing to do.
Yeah.
Which part of those sacred parts of us are doing what at what time.
Right. There's so much here I have to think about. We've gone through a lot.
I don't think that those are coincidences. Those are connections.
Yeah.
There's there's a belief and in that some people have about people in their reincarnation coming back with the same groups of souls for purposes.
Right.
I don't know enough about that myself, but I can see that it could be a possibility. And in that possibility, you're still connecting as you're both, moving through life and different things that you may need, or connections.
Are you trying to get to a form of enlightenment? Is that like a type of?
I don't go out and seek it. I don't go out and seek it.
Right.
I think that that kind of, I'm going to put it this way. I think that I came into this world very open. I could see how the word enlightenment could be applied to that. But it's not a goal, and it doesn't feel to me like it is a trophy, if you will. If we all, whoever, any of us, if we do reach that state or those states, I think it's ongoing, and I think it's just growth and more connection. That's what it is to me.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does. I remember talking to a girl that was searching for enlightenment. And the question I had was, I guess I don't understand enlightenment. I thought it was every lifetime you're trying to get a little closer to that enlightenment. It's not. I didn't think that was ever something you could do in one.
There is
time.
a philosophy of that. I
Is
think
there?
that yeah.
And she was saying, after 25 years of searching for enlightenment, I've realized the fact that you can be enlightened, but I can't right now. It's like, so you know what I'm saying? It's like, so she accepted that there's more work to do, and it's more time than there is,
Right.
more work than there is time.
Right. It could be.
Right.
I also think that getting back to how we were talking about whether this experience of your friend that came up the stairs was serendipitous or it was a coincidence, is that there is what is called a field, and some call it a kosh. So again, who are we talking to? What culture are we talking to? What group of people are we talking to? Call it different things. Call these experiences, these common experiences, different things. But this so-called field is just without place or time. It's not a place, but it's if you will, information that is just present, and our openness brings it forth or can pull from it, or it comes from that source.
Beautiful. So I asked you before, you don't do any real meditation? Is that part of it?
No,
or?
I don't. I remember being a child and being in states where I was, again, not thinking, very present, but very aware of spirit world, very aware of listening to plants, seeing things, understanding what was going on with this rock or this river. And later I understood that those were contemplative states. Other people call those meditative states.
Oh, okay.
My husband likes to practice Kriyas.
Okay.
He's not Hindu, no Eastern in him, but that seems to feed his soul and allow him to be able to expand, understand,
right,
and grow and heal. So he practices Kriyas, which is a form of meditation.
It is.
Yeah. And I'll join him.
Like an active meditation.
He does. He does Kriyas every day. He does them twice a day. Okay. And I don't do them in the morning, but I do them in the evening with him because it supports him.
Yeah, sure.
And again, to me, there isn't just one source. We're just calling it different things, experiencing it in a different way.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
How cool.
So
you're such an interesting lady.
I'm just me.
Right. That's perfect.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
So it's it just becomes a matter of understanding, not just a human, but what's in front of me. Again, what's in front of me.
Right. How cool.
Yeah.
I don't even know what to ask you because I'm outside of my wheelhouse. With doing massage, I touch on all of these things at different times, but I don't really have, I went to school and we covered a couple of weeks of Reiki. And I do understand the concept, and I do understand the energy, and I do feel the energy, and I do feel it passing through me, but I don't touch anybody to do it. So I have a problem charging for it. Do you know what I'm saying?
Some people do touch, and most people do not touch when they do Reiki, but some people do. And it's still the energy is going.
I guess I've heard of a hands-on Reiki, but that's not really
Reiki. It's not really a hands-on. Just some people prefer to touch you, and the energy still goes through.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's supposed to be a source that's coming. That energy is coming through a source.
Right. And we did that
in
while we were learning it. We really would try to gather as much energy from above, bring it together, and really hold it.
Right.
And then push it down into wherever the problem was, whether it's a lower back or whatever, it's like, okay, I get it, but I can't charge for this. So this is not really something I guess I really need to put hands on. Not that I don't understand.
Yeah.
But
yeah. I know that there's well, let me just touch on this for a minute. There is a movement that you do. Did you ever do any exercise, any movement with your body to try to bring that forth, to harness that and bring it forth? Yeah. But in terms of charging, that kind of takes me into a different subject, but many healers don't charge.
That would fit better, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So
that's
I could
exactly
see.
What's
so
going
I
on
see
in
what
my
you're
head.
talking about, the Reiki part. Yeah, and furthermore, the philosophy of the healers that I've known of that don't charge is because this isn't you. You, like, it's the same concept I think that you're trying to say. You're not actually working on this person.
Right.
You're bringing that forth, and you're bringing that energy into that person, and that's what's healing.
I'm just a conduit.
Exactly. So there's the same thing when you have the curanderismo, or you have the shamans. You have different people, the different, in different cultures that do the healings. It's because it's not them. They're a source.
See. Right.
It's source. It's not them. Yeah.
Glad I brought that up because I've learned something. That's
I can
really
understand
neat.
that. I totally understand that, because the integrity in you, or the integrity that because I'm one of those people, I've never charged for any of the healings that I've done.
I see. Okay.
And there, and there is in the culture, in communities of curanderismo, the conversation of, no, but in shamans, you can ask for a certain amount because you need to make a living, but it's a donation, and they leave it to the person what they can, and that they're in integrity when they do that. And I understand that. I struggled with that for many years.
Okay.
Like it wouldn't settle right in me.
Yeah, exactly.
It didn't feel integrable.
Right, exactly.
I couldn't accept it. I know when I used to watch my grandmother, she never charged, but they would bring her things,
Right.
whether it was wood
or a chicken
or food. Exactly. Yeah.
She's happier now, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And and I know that for some medicine men, they'll bring them feathers and such, but at the same time, they can't live off of the feathers.
I know, right? Thank you.
So it's kind of a
oblique, or what's the
just kind of
a
a funky place to be, because so yeah.
It's another thing, you don't want to feel like you're talking above somebody. Like, I know all these things about spirituality, and it's like, I'm just not comfortable with that.
Right.
I don't want to be looked at like, oh, you're kind of weird, dude.
Yeah.
That too.
Well, in my younger years, I wouldn't share much, because even within my family, when I did share, because I was a kid and I was sharing, and my sisters were looking at me kind of weird, or my friends, or even my parents. See, what came through with my grandmother didn't come through spiritually, kind of genetics, to my mom or my aunts or my uncle. I have one uncle. Nobody. It was me.
Really?
So when I shared those things, or when I would share with my parents that I did see spirits, or that there was this conversation, or that I had this information,
right,
or that I had a deja vu, and I knew this home, and I know exactly what's inside of it, what have you. My dad would get really mad. He would say, "Oh yeah," he would say, "You're making things up."
Was that his mom or your mom's mom?
I was my mother's mother.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So Dad was like, "Come on, stop this."
Yeah. And my mom just didn't know what to say. They were just like, "Really? Are you sure?" And then I would remind my mom. I would say, "But remember, Grandma talked about this. She talked about this experience or that experience." And so it was really interesting, because I would look at my mom and she was baffled. She remembered that experience, but she couldn't make logic of what I was saying.
Sure.
And here I was, a kid. I was her daughter, a kid. What does she know?
Even if you thought, you wouldn't want to say it out loud.
I stopped.
I mean,
stopped
your
sharing.
mom, like, oh, I think my kid's got
I did
telepathy.
stop sharing. I mean, there's a lot more
Right.
I could share.
Sure.
But, honestly, I wouldn't share it here publicly.
Yeah. Right.
I would share it possibly privately, depending, as I was saying earlier, depending on what the purpose was.
Yeah.
But there's a lot more.
But you gave us a little overview of your
A
childhood.
very,
right.
very little. Yeah.
Got to learn real quick to maybe not come up with everything. Right.
Yeah.
That's
great.
But
I don't feel that I'm a god or a goddess or superior. I just feel like I'm me, and I show up in my humanity. And it's been who I was for such a long time that is just me.
It's more sensitive to the universe.
Pardon me?
I said you're more sensitive to the universe, or
I came in this way. I just am who I am.
Right.
You know, when I share with my boys, I have, I think I told you, I have 3 sons.
Mm.
My youngest is 20.
Okay.
When I share with him, I can share very openly, and he's perfectly okay with it, and he has an understanding of it. You know, and
Sure.
so...
Is he also,
Yeah, all of them, actually, all of my boys are.
do they?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's interesting, like, it
Right.
skipped, like, my aunts and,
Yeah, yeah.
my mom and
Seemed
stuff.
to skip all them, but
But
it got
my
all
kids,
yours.
all my kids, yeah.
Right. How cool.
Yeah. So I can share with them, and but again, it's hard for me to kind of put into words for others to understand, because it's just who I am.
Mm.
You know, if I was sitting in front of you and I was a leopard, I would just be a leopard.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and for some, they may think you're very powerful. You know, you're a leopard.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, look what you do. Look who, you know, how you command your power or what have you.
Yeah.
But it's just a leopard.
Yeah.
The leopard is sitting there being a leopard doing
Yeah.
leopard things.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
My wife, when I was my ex-wife, she would have some crazy stories. I remember one night she said, she said, I had a dream last night that there was somebody making a speech. It was a black man, and everybody in the stands were jumping up and down. And his name was Nelson Mandela in her dream. The next day, Nelson Mandela got out of jail. He was standing at the podium. Everybody in the stands were jumping up and down. It was just like, how is that possible?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's crazy. That's details.
Yeah.
Like before it even happened in her sleep,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
It was like, so, I mean, that's not a coincidence.
No, it's not.
That's no coincidence.
No.
You know,
But
that's
remember, I was
just-
saying that we
that's
all have
naming the guy.
we all have the ability.
Right.
We are
that was
open.
weird.
We're open.
Yeah.
Right?
So I know it's there.
Yeah.
You know, it's not, you know, I mean, a lot of people would just not believe in it. But it's like when you see something that's that detailed, you know, it's like, how could it not be?
And when we sleep, we're not just physiologically sleeping. We're actually, our spirits are actually out. You know, they are.
Really?
Yeah, they are.
Out ahead of our time, though?
It can be, yes.
Must be.
Well, there is no time and space, actually.
Okay.
Yeah,
Sure.
there is no time and place. And then one particular person that I know that is a healer, you know, labels a healer, a mystic, a seer, talks about time being a being, and a being.
Interesting concept.
Yeah. And I tend to agree with that based on some of the experiences that I've had. Again, a communion, a connection, an understanding, a connection with another human being, with another being. Yeah.
In a different time?
Honestly, in my experiences, the construct of time is ours as humans, so that we can manage and not feel like, you know, like we can't handle things. But I don't experience it quite the same. I do, because I'm presently living in this reality and doing mundane things that I need to do.
Right.
You know, because we're all kind of living in this reality.
Yeah.
But there is other realities, and in my experiences and some of the things that I've experienced, I can perfectly feel and understand how there is no time and space. And I know that may not mean a lot to you or make a lot of sense, because they're my experiences.
Yeah.
But, you know.
You know, I've always been a huge fan of all the different crazy sciences, whether it's, you know, Egypt or how did they move those blocks? You know, how did they, you know, all these different things. And it's like there's, and I heard of one scientist, Graham Hancock, I think he said we are a species with amnesia. You know, and there's so many things that we don't know that we used to, that we've lost everything. You know, so who knows what's out there? You know, just the idea of, you know, I'm sure they must have moved those blocks with sound waves. I'm sure there was some kind of, I don't know if there was mind control or tapping into each other's thoughts, or having some type of an ESP or something, you know. But it seems like our species lends itself to that, or it has a little bit of that,
Or
that
even
we just can't seem to explain.
or even the ingenuity on how to do that.
Yeah, or
Right?
why to.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And again, looking at the purposes of where they place these structures and why.
Yeah.
It wasn't just a living situation, and yet many of these cultures had living domains, living areas, but they also had areas of sacredness or purpose that were connecting with the cosmos in some sense, or with the earth in some sense for certain vibrations or energies to come through.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't know if you mentioned this, if I heard you wrong, do you ever hear people that have passed on?
I do.
Oh, you do?
I
Can
do.
you have a conversation?
Yeah.
Or get what they're...
I do. They've come for different purposes, sometimes for help, again, to give a message, or sometimes just to announce that they're going to pass.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it happens quite frequently.
Yeah.
Yeah, it still does.
A lot of times when somebody dies, they'll come to me in my sleep as they die, or the day after, or take me to their mom and go, like they're saying, take care of her for me because I'm gone or something. Yeah, just weird things like that. It's like, okay, that's my mind playing with me.
No.
But maybe not.
So you've had these experiences.
Sure.
So you're sharing with me so much here as we're talking that shows that you have those connections.
Sure.
And yet you keep telling me I don't.
But you don't know whether it's real or not.
Well,
It's just a dream.
Have you checked it out?
I mean, there's been many things that were wrong.
So when these have happened, has this person actually passed?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so
Sure.
how is it that it's not verifiable then for you?
That one's verifiable. But the other 6 or 7 that, it's sometimes they're right on. It's like, how do you tell which ones are which? I just had one the other day, and I can't remember what it was, but it was something that did not come to pass. It was like, I thought for sure that was it right on. So I can't say, okay, I'm an empath, I get it, because sometimes I'm wrong. Sometimes I'm too dead on right, but other times I can't tell the difference. I think that's how we started out the conversation.
I know. For me, the
how do you
experience.
tell?
For the experience, yeah, we did. For me, the experiences that I've had like that, I've actually had verifiable information. The next day or what have you. Like for example, Rick Rodriguez, a very good friend of mine, who I knew for quite a number of years, came to me. And he was the day before he passed. And he said, I'm leaving. And he said, and this is what he said specifically to me. He said, everything that has ever been said about Blessed Mother is true. Okay? This was...
Blessed Mother Mary?
Yes.
Oh.
So it was in my sleep. The next day, his son, which is a friend of mine, which I know, posted on Facebook that his father had passed. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're like, I know.
Yeah. Well, yeah. But another situation is my godmother in Los Angeles. I grew up in Southern California. My godmother, who was in Los Angeles, is a psychologist.
Okay.
And she was married, and I've known them, for her and her family, for a number of years. Knew her husband. Her husband passed. Came to me and he said, "Tell Rebecca that I'm okay, that I love her, and for you guys to continue to have a relationship." Okay?
How cool.
I approached her and told her, and she was very upset. But he had passed, so that I was able to verify that by speaking to her.
Right.
But the point is that, as I was saying earlier, so I'm kind of switching gears a little bit, but remember I was saying earlier that I have to discern to see if I say something or not, because not everyone is ready for it. She's a very intelligent woman. She's a psychologist. So she has the understanding, the abilities to understand much. She's spiritual. However, it was a great deal of pain for her, even though she knows of these subjects that we talk about, it was very difficult for her to hear that about her husband.
It was just timing.
Somehow, even though she knows that it's possible that there is life after death, or that there isn't really a death, because it's kind of like the concept of time and space. It doesn't really exist.
Right.
It's a transition. It's kind of like we're not in our physical carnal body at the time, but we are still aware and spirit and, present. She had a difficult time with just hearing that because of the degree of pain that she was in.
Right.
So again, you have to go back and say, and not just be excited and say, okay, John spoke to me and I have to go give her this message and it's really important.
Yeah.
But is she ready? Is it okay?
Right, right. Timing.
But that's another verifiable situation.
Right.
Every situation I've had has been verifiable in terms of, do I get random like everybody, all over the world, like this person in China died? No, I don't get anything like that.
Right.
It's for whatever reasons, and I don't know why, certain people that just,
Exactly
I get
the way
that.
it is, isn't it?
I'm not choosing it. I'm not
Nope.
asking for it. And I'm not this like global psychic that, can go over the police department and offer my and say, I can tell you that this person, where you're going to find, nothing like that. No, for whatever reason, it's whomever. I had a friend that I grew up in high school with, and she found me on Facebook and we started talking, and a few months into our Facebook reconnection on Facebook, her ex-husband came to me and gave me a message for her. He didn't identify himself as...
And he had passed.
He had passed.
I see, right.
And he didn't identify himself as so-and-so. We'll call him John. I'm John, tell Andrea, yada, yada, yada. So I go and I tell Andrea, yada, yada, yada. And she says that was my ex-husband. And then she verifies the information that he said, how it was so, so it was verifiable.
And it was verifiable.
Very verifiable.
Yeah.
And
right.
then again, discernment, because then she wanted to know, like, for me to tell her future and her future with this new guy she was with, and so forth and so on.
Yeah.
And so, no, because then that becomes like a little machine, that's not
Right.
the purpose of this. It is really kind of sacred.
Yeah.
And I think it's a confidential, connective, vulnerable space, I think, still, when those that have passed come, or not in their bodies come, and give that. They're coming, I think, to those that they can trust, if
Right,
you will,
that's got to be a big thing.
and not exploited.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
So.
Got to be worried about telling your friend, because she, like, who do you think you are? Was she open to that?
I think I'm not I'm not naive and I'm not ignorant, but I'm innocent. I still keep my innocence,
right.
I think.
Okay.
And so I listen.
Okay.
If I'm told and I feel it, really, and then,
You're not overbearing and telling them, I got this.
And
it's
yet,
like, this is what...
and yet, as an adult and as a mature adult, discernment is still important.
Right.
Yeah. But you can have discernment and have innocence. Discernment would contradict ignorance. But you can have the innocence, you can have the discernment.
I see, right.
And then you're balancing.
That's great. Write that on something. Write it on a t-shirt or something.
Yeah.
Wow. I've learned so much today. So the name of the podcast is What's Next? What's next for you?
What's next for me? Yeah.
Just kind of in a holding pattern right now while you're carrying, or?
Actually, I think that there has been kind of a movement within listening to my spirit and my soul about, what are you doing with these gifts? I mean, they've been there for a while. You do listen, but what's next has been a thing that's kind of been a theme for me.
Good.
in the last, I would say, 2 years.
Found the right place
So
then.
I started connecting with, like I said, I started doing work with Dr. Clarissa Estes.
I see, yeah.
Look her up,
Okay.
and you'll understand a little more.
Yeah.
And
Estes?
Estes, Dr. Clarissa Estes.
Clarissa Estes.
And one of the things, what's next, is one of the things she said when we were doing some work, and she said, if you, being who you are, having these experiences, these abilities, and it wasn't just I, it was a group of women that we were working with.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
If you were able to have the gift, the ability, the opening to go somewhere in your dream states, but actually your spirit, your soul, actually went out and were able to do something effective, something that would have healing or value, what would you do? And I asked that for children or people that needed specifically for children, for example, that may need someone to come in and help when they're in abusive situations, and they're not able to, that my spirit would be able to go in trouble and find some way to help them out, if you will. Kind of like, again, a spirit coming in, opening the door, doing something of that sort.
I see, yeah, right.
This may sound a little abstract to you, but my point is that that's what's next. What's next is following the call of going into deeper service or deeper understanding, whatever that may be.
Right.
It still sounds ambiguous, doesn't it? But we're not talking about an everyday action. We're talking about a spirit-based action and response.
Yeah.
So what's next for me is to continue this path that I have, and deepen it in whatever source I can.
But objective as it is, I think it'll present itself to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
You
I
just,
actually
okay,
do.
this is oblique kind of, we're heading this way. I know what I want to do, but not exactly. And then it'll just kind of give it to you.
I do. And
Yeah,
I do. And so it's funny because when I shared, I'm with my husband and my kids, I'm going to do this podcast. My husband was just like, wow, Lala, this is great. And it's like, it's like a big thing. And again, as I was saying, to me, it's an interaction, a conversation. And he's like, well, what are you going to do with that? And I said, nothing.
Right.
I'm going to go and I'm going to have this conversation, and it's going to serve whatever purpose it's supposed to serve for whoever is supposed to hear whatever they're supposed to hear, feel what they're supposed to feel, expand or go forth in whatever way it's supposed to.
Sure.
In spirit-based, if you will.
Yeah. Well, that's what's cool about this. Almost everybody listens to whatever. They're going to take it differently, I think, from their past experiences in life and everything else. Everybody absorbs things differently, or they may absorb it now or differently now than a year from now, because they may need something different then, or you know what I'm saying?
I think just being present and showing up in this experience is expansive in the sense that it sends forth energy, spirit, information, connection, what have you.
Right.
And it's going to go where it's going to go for whatever purpose, whether it's for individuals, for myself, for life, if you will.
Sure.
That's what's next for me.
Yeah.
Always showing up kind of on that kind of quantum dimension, if you will, without sounding dorky or...
Not at all.
You know?
Can people work with you, or
Sure,
are you just kind of laying back? Is there a place where people can get a hold of you? Or?
Yeah. You can go ahead and send them to my email.
Okay.
And then...
We'll just link it on the subscription,
absolutely.
all that stuff. So.
And then,
That'd be neat. Yeah. So you're just working with that right now. You're just kind of taking some time off. I'm sorry, who did you say you were taking care of?
I'm taking care of my son right now.
Oh, your son. Okay.
So some life experiences.
Oh, sure. Okay.
Yeah. But, and again, the way it is for me is not, this is not a business. This is a connection. So if there's some way that I can be of service, we know what service is. Then I'm there.
Yeah, right.
So,
but you have to earn also? I mean, can you make money from this, or is this something that you want to like turn into a something, or you're just going to do other things and hold this to yourself?
Again, I told you I had a real difficult time with the whole thing with charging. I'm not charged.
Yeah, right.
Right. It would depend. I'm still of the same philosophy as my grandmother was, We have a wood burning stove. You want to bring me some wood? Thank you.
Right.
But
I'd be far from an empath and whatever, but I may be able to heal people a little better than the next guy. Whether it's because of I've fallen off of buildings for 25 years and been in construction and I know where everybody hurts, or maybe it's something in me that I heal, because I do have a very successful business, and I have long-term 10-year plus customers that have come back every other week.
You did a great job.
Yeah. So, well, thank you.
Half an hour.
Yeah, right on. And so I mean, I can be healing, but at the same time, I can earn money. They are paying me to get rid of their pain, but maybe I am helping them, maybe a little emotional, or maybe not. I don't know. But either way, I still have to make a living.
Right.
And I just feel like I'm really giving back. And I've told this, said this before, but people come in and they're not wearing makeup, they're wearing dark clothes, they're just not feeling themselves. They work with me for a month or two, and all their pain is gone. They come back in bright clothes, and they've got their makeup on, their hair's done. It's like you just completely changed that person, even though they don't even know it.
Right.
They don't even know it. When I say something like that to them, they're like, "What?" They have no idea. It's like, you should have seen yourself the first time you came in here. It's like, what? What do you mean? It's like, well, sorry, I didn't know nothing. I forgot. Because they're just living in the moment.
Right.
But to come back months later and look back at, look at the journey you've traveled since we've met. I don't think they know the pain's gone, but they don't feel the spiritual lifting, like I can see in them, So I don't mind charging them because,
Yeah, I get
I can kill two birds with one stone.
Yeah, no, I get you.
Right?
Yeah.
So with the physical therapy, it's like when you're working with people and you're putting your hands on them, you're actually healing them, and they don't even know it. That's pretty cool. You know it.
Right.
You're getting paid for being a physical therapist, but at the same time, you're getting that your own.
This is the way I'm going to answer that. So if I'm working with someone and it's on the spiritual realm, on the spirit realm, and we're communicating on that realm, and I'm touching that person, and I'm being source, right? There is going to be an awakening of that, and that person could see what is the right choice or action that they may feel called to do. So, for example, I came to you, and you did what you did, and you charge, and my everything says, here, gladly, your fee, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, sure.
So that's the way I see if I work with people and they feel that there is a fee or an exchange of that way. There is healers that talk about energetic exchange. So I understand that.
Sure.
I understand that. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, if that is to be that there is an exchange of money that way and gratitude for, or that we're both coming together, I do this connection for you or this service, and you're in gratitude here, then so be it.
Yeah.
If that makes sense to you.
I'm glad you got what I was saying, because I kind of got to that at a very roundabout
way. No.
But
And then the other thing that I wanted to say that was coming to me as you were speaking is, an invitation for you, Steve, to see how much you are truly connected and open, and there's not much of a difference between you and I. so that you
Between me and what?
you and I in terms of these.
Oh, you and I. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
you and I in terms of these abilities or these gifts,
Right.
and for you to see that you
Yeah.
have without saying, hey, no, that's not me, that's like, that's
Yeah.
these people,
Something just fell on my head one day. I don't know. And yeah.
you know. And I'd like to think that the experiences that we have sometimes open us up a bit more to,
Sure.
12-step programs,
Yeah.
and those histories and the histories
Right.
that we live through.
We won't get into 12-step
No, we
programs
won't,
today, but
but
I've been there.
but yeah, exactly.
No,
I
right.
think some of those things. I also think of taking it to a different tangent, that the shaman journey. Usually, shamans are initiated from some extreme experiences. I don't know if you have heard of that or not. Shamans
I've heard
are
of shamans.
initiated in very extreme situations. They go
Right.
through life or death situations.
Sure.
They go through some pretty hairy experiences
Right,
in their,
right.
and this seems to be kind of like an awakening, that you stay so present in your being, in your soul, and therefore this comes, and you're kind of transformed, if you will.
Right, right.
I know that that's happened to me,
Sure.
but I also see it in other people, in the experiences that they go through.
Yeah.
That kind of opens them up, and then they're filled with something
Sure.
else that then goes forward.
Yeah, yeah.
And so that's what I'm trying to kind of like invite you to look at.
Yeah.
In terms of you and what's coming through you, that you're doing your massages, but that you also are allowing so much of other in spirit to come through you.
Right, right.
Yeah.
I had a guy say to me, boy, I wish I could get a job like you, where I could just close down and go home and just not take anything home with me at night. I was like,
No.
wow, you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, you don't know what you're talking about.
I go home and I have to shake it out.
Yeah,
Man,
you
I'm
do.
telling you what.
You do.
I'm glad you think that.
You do.
But it's not.
Here's a little tip. What I do when I do have to wash off,
Mm-hmm, yeah, right.
I actually take a shower. I
Sure.
actually do.
Right.
And the water that flows, water is it moves. It
Sure.
heals you. It cleanses.
Yeah.
Not just metaphorically, but it actually does.
Mm-hmm.
And metaphorically. Yeah.
And a lot of times at the end of the massage, the guy that taught me, he would do a full sweep of the body, so they would reconnect all the different parts, and he would do that.
Yeah, exactly.
And he would do it again, and
Exactly.
he would do this and
Exactly.
shake his hands like, what are you doing? I'm
Exactly.
getting rid of all the negative energy
Yeah,
that this guy's
yeah,
carrying
yeah,
around.
yeah.
And that was before I really dug what he's talking about.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
through the years,
Yeah.
I see it. I feel it.
Yeah, you
I
do.
feel it. Every once in a
Yeah,
while,
you-
I do the same thing.
Yeah, you have to
Jeez,
cleanse
hey,
it off.
I'm
You
just-
have to release it and
Yeah.
transmute it.
Right.
Yeah.
I know some people in the world will be like, you're crazy. What
No,
are
no,
you
no.
talking
It's
about? But
it's real. It's
that's
real.
what I feel.
It's real.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've had an amazing time talking to you. Thank you so much for coming in today.
Thank you for having me.
Are we missing anything? Is there any books in the works? I don't know.
I did, and I stopped those.
Did
So
you? Yeah,
it's
yeah.
something that I've been looking to revisit.
Again,
yeah.
it's private. You
Yeah.
got to decide
Yeah.
what you want to put into a book first, right?
Well, there's two. One is that, and I had my chapters put like in different boxes, but one was on an autobiography of the spiritual experiences that I've had, who I am, really
That'd
candidly.
be amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I will go back to that. And the other one was the effects of my experiences with people that have had really deep soul injuries through experiences as they were growing up, but what
Sure.
that means, and
Right.
hence where you get the soul retrieval and how that is connected to
Right.
emotional abuse and such.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'll go back to that.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Now, here on What's Next, it seems to, we've been doing this, we're in our 4th season now, so we've had quite a few people. A lot of people will come onto the podcast and they tell me what they want next.
Uh-huh.
And then they go out and do it. It's like they were holding themselves back until they heard themselves say it out loud. So it means you're going to go write a book.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's interesting that you bring that up because I think that that's very, very valid. I think that speaking it out loud
Yes.
does bring it all forth.
Yes,
It
right.
propels you.
Right.
Having someone else invite you to do so and for you to, interact back is that movement and going forward. So
Right
yes,
on. Right
yes.
on.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank
Right.
you. Thank you.
right.
Thank you
Well,
for having me here more than in one way. It's been a multitude of different reasons.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just been
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on. All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks for tuning in. I'll talk to you soon. Love you guys.